Okay.
Everybody wave hello to our YouTube audience. We're live.
Good morning, YouTube. Okay, so I am going to get us kicked off this morning. But first, what I'd love to do is have at least 3 people introduce themselves. And so I am going to, I'm going to call out your names just to warn you. Okay, Carrie, Liz, and Paula. I'd love to have you all introduce yourselves. So Paula, if you'd like to go first, just unmute yourself.
Sure. Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Paula Getz, and I'm here representing a nonprofit that we're just getting started called New Mexico New Elder World. It's all about engaging retirees, near retirees into community service and helping them get part-time jobs if they want, and setting up some learning. So I've talked many times to Trish about partnering with Teeniors. It's a natural connection, and also a big thank you to Lisa Atkins, who has helped a lot. So glad to be here.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm in this really funny dappled light. I'm not really sure what's happening. My name is Liz Gamboa, and I'm the Executive Director of New Mexico Community Capital. It's good to meet you all. We work with Native entrepreneurs. We help support and create sustainable Native economies. We do that by working with Native entrepreneurs, small businesses, families, and we have just moved into a new space a couple of months ago. Go check our video out on social media. And our friend and senior advisor, Grants Wizard, Claire Zorowski, invited me to this event. So yeah, good luck, Trish.
And hi, everyone. My name is Carrie Sutton. I am in the very early stages of starting an HR consulting company, Living Room HR. So focused on working with small businesses and nonprofits, helping them get a great HR plan in place. And Sonia, I think you're still muted.
What Jay said,
I have no idea how I got muted. I couldn't even push that button earlier. I don't know why. Okay, so thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Well, in that case, I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to thank you all for introducing yourselves. And it was good to see you this morning, Liz. And okay, so so for those of you who are not familiar with 1 Million Cups, our mission is to lower the barrier of access to education and resources to all entrepreneurs. And we work for that mission by creating a consistent program, meaning we don't let just anyone present, right? We want someone who's going to talk about their journey, about their challenges, and we also coach them and we work with them. So we make sure it's consistent through the way that the presentation is done, and we also don't want to sell to our audience, right? Our audience is here to help the entrepreneur to learn from their journey. And then 1 Million Cups is a national program. So this morning, Wednesday, 9 a.m., it's happening all over the U.S. And this is our Southwest region. And you'll see that Albuquerque, New Mexico, we're all by ourselves. But we do have some in Texas as well as Oklahoma and other states. And just an FYI, if you've applied and presented at 1 Million Cups Albuquerque, you might consider applying to other organizations as well, because a lot of them are still going online as well. So you could present in Texas and not have to leave your home. And actually, Paul's done that a few times. He's presented in a few places. All right, and our key pillars, Like I said, it's a presentation, not a pitch. And we talk about authentic connections, meaning, well, it's called 1 Million Cups because we can make more connection just chatting over a cup of coffee than we can handing someone a business card. So that's what we mean when we say authentic connections. And it's run for the community, by the community. And we want to continually be radically and intentionally inclusive. That means seeing all kinds of entrepreneurs and all kinds of businesses. And if you have a company, if you sold something in your company to anyone besides your mother, perhaps, as Paul likes to say, then please apply. We'd love to have you present. You apply at 1millioncups.com/Albuquerque, and we'll take a look at your application. We assign you a coach, and we assign you a scheduled time, and we put you online to present. And then our organizing team, we have Paul Zotter, Lisa Atkins, my co-lead, Eric Rins-Whitmore, Bobsy Sanandale, myself, Sonia Doing, and Charles Garrison. And then our awesome sponsors, who we hope to see live someday, is Fat Pipe ABQ. So right now, myself, Lisa, and Trish are all here at Fat Pipe using the awesome internet. If you're looking for a space to rent to just sit and work, this is a great space to come to. We also have Loza and Loza Intellectual Property, More Than Organized, Jason Collin Photography. Hi, Jason. Oh, and More Than Organized is here. I know I saw you dropped in. And Noventum Custom Software is also one of our awesome sponsors. And so now, Paul, it's all up to you.
Good morning. So it's a real pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Trish Lopez. So I first met Trish when we were in the ABQID Accelerator together, and we are 2 of the 4 companies that are still alive out of the 15. So if nothing else, Trish has staying power, and she has a great heart that she has brought to her company, as you'll see from her presentation. So take it away, Trish.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Trish Lopez. Give me just 1 second here, and I'm going to share my screen. It's so fun to see all you guys. Okay, here we go. Good old keynote. Just 1 second. Okay, I'm Trish Lopez. I run Teeniors. And for those of you who don't know me, you'll learn all about Teeniors. You'll learn all about our team and what my values are in the next few minutes. And please feel free to connect with us anytime on social media. Those symbols there, those logos there will tell you, and luckily Teeniors has a unique name, so we are the same on our website, on all social media channels, these ones plus LinkedIn. This is my mom. Her name's Lillian. She's 82. And for those of you who haven't heard me speak before, she loves technology. She likes playing Words with Friends on her Kindle and checking out CNN, reading it online, texting all of us kids. She also hates technology. She often needs help with it. Like several times a month, she will reach out to my brothers, or used to rather before Teeniors, reach out to me and my brothers. We weren't really good at helping. It would be like, yeah, Mom, we've shown you this 6 times. Here, let me just do it for you. And I think that's what most of us do when it comes to the older people in our lives, or anyone who doesn't know how to do things like what we're really familiar with, like technology. And as you can imagine, she loses passwords. She gets frustrated with spam, like so many of us, and we can't always be there to help. So Mom is not alone in this problem. There are about 47 million seniors living in the US. That population will soon double. For these folks and those of us who love them, we created Teeniors. Teeniors are tech-savvy teens and young adults who help older adults learn technology through one-on-one personalized coaching. So whether that's a cell phone, a tablet, a computer, and here's COVID Teeniors. COVID Teeniors is our goal and always has been to empower older adults to connect with their loved ones, engage with their communities and the world through technology while providing paid, meaningful jobs for teens and young adults. And so COVID obviously brought quite the changes, since we used to be 100% in-person coaching. And I would talk with everyone about how 100% in-person coaching, sitting side by side with your tutor, was the best way to learn. So when COVID hit, I was like, did I say it was the best way to learn? It is, but let's still try learning, and let's see if we can do this in a virtual format. So here's how it works. You contact us, we contact our Teeniors, and we would normally come to you, but since COVID, we can set you up in one of 4 ways. So private virtual coaching via phone or video call. So believe it or not, we have helped some people over the phone, people in other states, people here in New Mexico, and that's always fun. I give so much credit to our lovely young coaches who have the patience for that, because it's really challenging, but we've had fantastic success, like 97% highly satisfied clients when it comes to our virtual and our phone coaching. We do small group classes every month, and these are free for anybody who would like to attend. I was said before we started recording that we've been offering like Zoom 101, Zoom 102, all the social media softwares, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're also doing an overview of spreadsheets, how to order your groceries online. So you can see any of these classes that we have coming up for free. You can watch the recording of them if you miss them by going to our website, teeniors.com. So anyway, there's private virtual coaching. There's small group online classes. When necessary, we're still doing in-person coaching since the governor's orders allowed that at our office space here at Fat Pipe Albuquerque. And when necessary, in-person coaching at a client's home. Again, when necessary. We're trying not to do that unless it's necessary. Something I consider necessary is now during COVID, if you can't figure out why your internet isn't working. To me, that's a necessity, because I know that older adults are already isolated as it is. We certainly don't want you to have to go without being connected to your loved ones in your community. And just entertainment, like watching movies or listening to your music. So we continue to host these free events for the community, and we encourage you to share that and take part as you guys would like. So this is our team. This is the best I could do. We used to have like group photos, and we could never get everyone in the same shot. As you imagine, all of us are working from our homes. And so this is the best I could do as far as here's who we are in 2021. If you have never met any of our team members or never had a coaching session with Teeniors, they're incredibly kind, patient, friendly, smart individuals, very hardworking. They come from public schools, private schools, charter schools, homeschooling, and all other walks of life. And they love the work. I mean, obviously it's not a fit for everyone, but I've never met a kid I didn't like, or a young adult, because some are in their 20s. And why do they love the work? Because they immediately go from being completely underestimated and marginalized, just like our older adults in our society, to the most valued person in the room. They're respected for their knowledge, and they're appreciated for their help. They're paid $10 to $18 an hour, depending on what they're doing. Like home sessions are always $15 an hour or more. And technology is not the basis of what we teach these kids. You know, they come with that. Most younger people, it's all relative, right? A 16-year-old will easily say that their 12-year-old brother knows more than they do about tech. So I don't consider anyone stupid. I don't consider any question stupid. And I say that because for older adults who might be watching this, they often feel shame about not knowing certain technologies, about not knowing how to use a smartphone or the internet, or knowing how to text or attach a photo to a text or an email. And we really try to kill that myth that they should know. You know, most of them, depending on your age, you know, for me, cell phones didn't become prevalent until I was in college. Computers didn't become prevalent until I was in college. Like, we had one in the library in high school, but Google, Yahoo, that wasn't a thing until my 20s. And so I always explain it is all relative, you know, depending on your age, on your generation. And so what we expect and what we teach and what I try to model for our young adults who work with us is courtesy, empathy, professionalism, punctuality. And they benefit from this in more ways than I ever would have realized when starting Teeniors. I knew the older adults would benefit. I had no idea how much our young people would benefit from this work. We do an annual survey every year. We get amazing feedback from them. I could go on and on with stories of how it's helped some of them overcome depression, deal with other life struggles, make them feel like they have a mentor for the first time. opens up their mind and their possibilities to new jobs, new internships, colleges they didn't think they could get into, and across the board, 100% self-confidence in interacting with other people. And so anyway, what I like to always talk about when I speak to anyone is to remember to always define your version of success, because our society certainly will trip over themselves in general, collectively as a people, telling you what equals success, whether that's from a materialistic standpoint, fame, anything. Like that's how it is, I think, in our society. And so I love this picture. Have any of you guys seen this before? I showed it the last time I spoke at 1 Million Cups because I'm a fan of this. When I saw it, I was like, so true. You know, I tell my daughter this too. She's 8, but I definitely tell any younger people I speak with, which is that behind your success is a whole world of hard that nobody sees. The time you put in, especially the time when no one knows what you're doing and no one cares what you're doing. You know, once you've worked to a point where other people know what you're doing and there's some successes behind it and maybe even some popularity behind it, it's easy to jump on board then because everyone's like, oh, you know, everyone wants to be on board with a winner. But when you don't know what you're doing yet, when you're seeking help, when it's just an idea, or you just simply don't have any attention or feedback or anything yet, it can be really hard. And it is a lot of late nights and a lot of just the bricks in this photo really show it like it is, I think. You know, we'll tend to see the gold medals in the Olympics. We really don't see the work that goes behind it. Same thing for the kid who wins the chemistry competition, for so many things. And I know all of you know that because I think it's the same thing with parenting, with a solid relationship in your life. Everything requires the work. And in our culture, we tend to see the wins and not the attempts to get there. And I think it's important to talk about that. So anyway, if any of you ever want to talk about that with me, I'm the first person willing to talk about all the hard that it takes to get there. So here's a quick, obviously I have a broader definition, but here's a quick like vision of my success when it comes to Teeniors. Happy clients, a happy team, and a happy me and my kiddo. When I say happy team, I also mean, in my mind, that kind of includes everyone. So Teeniors, I can explain more later, started as a startup business at a women's entrepreneurial event, Startup Weekend. And we, wasn't even 2 years later when I started a nonprofit arm to help all the people who couldn't afford to pay, which we were already doing. We just didn't have sponsorship for that. We were just volunteering our time. So a lot of things have to happen, whether you have a contract from a for-profit perspective or a nonprofit perspective. You need to be doing your reporting on that contract, telling people, here's where we are, just, this has how many people we've helped, just, whatever you can do to help them help you, whether it's here's a flyer, a graphic, social media post that you can share. I like to see everyone in my even extended team feel like they're being taken care of and that they're being attended to. So happy me and my kiddo. Here's a definition quickly of kind of each of those things. So happy clients whose expectations we've exceeded. They pay a fair price. They know that we value their feedback, and they know that we act on their feedback, which I do every time one of them fills out a survey. And we try to survey every single client we work with still to this day, 5.5 years in. So my team, from the extended people, like I said, like people who provide grants, people who donate money to our nonprofit arm, contracts we have, or just the individual clients, or some adult child buying gift certificates for their parent. If anything doesn't go beautifully, they always get a personal phone call from me. It's honestly rare because we have a lot of great coaches that work hard to help with whatever the problem is. But even if they're like, oh, I didn't know that would be my invoice amount, or I'm still trying to figure out if you guys do this, whatever it is, I try to help in that way. The team, having the statistics I have, the data I have from what they have said, which I talked about earlier, how this helps in their personal lives, how this work helps them in the broader outlook of their economic futures and their academic futures, is always cool to hear about. And then me and my kiddo, obviously, that is huge to me. I think one of the things that I have talked about with, I don't know if I've talked to anybody, actually, my friends here at Fat Pipe about this, but one thing I started when COVID hit was 2 hours of quality time, uninterrupted time with my daughter every day. So those of you, the people on the call who know me, know that I'm very big about no technology when I'm with her unless it's necessary. And sometimes it is necessary. Sometimes Jillian, my assistant, is on the line. Sometimes I need to text her back, need to answer questions, or just get something done. But I make it as absolutely quick as possible. I don't watch TV unless it's like my daughter and I are having a movie night. And so we're both in on it and we both agree what we're going to watch. But during COVID, some of us were so happy with all the quality time and the pause of life that happened. And I really relished that. And I knew it was a once in a lifetime opportunity that I would get this kind of quality time with my kiddo, especially in an age where she wants to spend that time with me. It might be different when she's a teenager. And so one thing she said one day is, it's like, sometimes it feels like, because then she had to deal with mama working from home. And she was like, sometimes it feels like we're together a lot, but we don't always get to be together. And I knew exactly what she meant. And I saw how it was starting to go that way. I was like, I know, what can we do about that? And what we could do about that, I suggested, was, why don't we get 2 hours of quality time every day, uninterrupted? I turn off my phone. And that can be anything from, we created our vision boards for 2021 to we're doing art, we're playing a board game, we're watching a movie. It's often a movie night. We're cooking something together. We try a new recipe every Sunday. So that's an example. And I know that I'm getting quality conversations with her. We try to journal as often as we can. And sometimes that brings out conversations. It's like, what's hard in your life right now? What could be better? We have a prompt journal where we both fill it out. And so those are some of my ideas of how to kind of keep that going while you're working, because I really like to be a mom first and work second. Measuring your success. To me, this is extremely important. I think some of us have heard that term before, which is measuring what matters. I loved when I read this comment. We've read so many comments in our surveys that say things like this: just a thank you for giving people like me hope and validation. I love that, because so many people talk about how hard it is to be coached by their adult children. I believe I was one of those adult children that my mom would easily say that about, because we don't have the patience in all cases. And it's weird how the comfort of strangers, when I'm teaching a class of strangers I don't know, like a Teeniors class, even in person, I have all the patience in the world and all the kindness and, and then you do this. And for some reason, it doesn't always translate to our loved ones. I have a very applicable story from when I was learning snowboarding in my 20s and how I wanted to my boyfriend throw him off a mountain. So I think strangers can often be the best teachers. And I have tips for all you guys who want to teach people in your life just a little bit about technology at the end of this. So measuring success is why we do our surveys of every single client who works with us. We personally send them an email. I respond with any feedback that seems like it needs my attention, but almost all the time we get fantastic 5-star reviews, which is really cool. And I think the team knows that I prioritize our clients and our team, our people, more than anything else. I'm very big on what makes me lose sleep at night is disharmony in my relationships, whether that's personal or professional. So here's another thing about our measuring of success. I always feel welcomed and wanted. This was a great quote. I love everything about being a Teenior. I get to improve my social skills. Things like this come up all the time when we do the annual surveys, and it's really great to hear. So that's an example. And again, that doesn't begin to go into the extended team I think of when I think of our partners and our collaborators. And here is me sort of measuring it with my daughter, like I talked about. 2 hours every day uninterrupted, pardon my typo. No phones or computers unless we sort of both agree and are on the same page about it. And then I'm clear with her when I do have to text. I'm like, this is a work thing, Kaya. I'm just going to tell Jillian that blah, blah, blah. Real conversations, journaling, lessons in movies and TV. So when we do watch stuff, I'm very big, for those of you who are parents, grandparents, aunties, on Common Sense Media. It's an app. They're a global nonprofit, actually, I think. And they have reviews by parents and kids about movies, TV shows, games, and books. It's really good to get an idea of things that you might want to watch with your kiddo. And they have age recommendations and all this stuff. Measuring success through our partnerships. We just started a partnership with Anchorum St. Vincent. If you're not familiar with them, they're a social impact investment group. They are giving us a quick COVID grant of $20,000 to create a pilot program for Teeniors in northern New Mexico. So we're starting that immediately. I can fill you in more the next time we all talk. Facebook has been our biggest funder of our nonprofit arm to date. We've had collaborations with Comcast and Walgreens, the Santa Fe Community Account, all these. I don't want to go into and bore you. It's really important to me to recognize the people who choose to partner with us. It's also really amazing that to this day and since Teeniors started, we continue to earn fantastic press. And every time a national press piece is published, we get phone calls from around the country, from around the globe, actually. And the most recent was Costco magazine this past December. Before that, it was NPR. And what's nice about press is that not only do you feel some validation for the work you're doing, you get to see like one of your Teeniors photos in the paper or whatever, share it with their parents, but also it brings credibility for people. As you know, the press, the newspapers, obviously the news stations, have a way of deciding what on their own is and isn't newsworthy, of course. And so I'm very particular about when I will send out a press release. I try to really wait until I think it's something absolutely press-worthy. I try to make it very crisp and clear and acknowledge the partner of whomever we're partnering with. But anyway, we've been fortunate with great press, always. So a quick little past, present, future in these last slides. We've been going virtual for the past year. Just about a month after COVID started. We immediately pivoted towards looking at video conferencing tools that we could use. Even though Zoom wasn't my favorite, everyone is comfortable with Zoom. So that's what we started using. Getting funding, I immediately started applying for grants as soon as COVID hit. Like I didn't watch the news like other people. I was not at all looking at the news or anything like that. I was trying to immediately think about how we were going to keep Teeniors thriving. And I knew that people who don't use technology were not going to easily be sold on, well, we can't come to your house and do this, but we can if you want to try to just sign up for a Zoom account. I mean, it was really challenging in the beginning. So we started with Bitsy, an open source platform, which I loved. And anyway, I did everything I could to get us some funding to keep us going. And now we're hiring. We particularly need 18-year-old plus Teeniors who can do home coaching sessions. Last time I spoke with all of you guys, the lovely 1MC folks and the audience, NPR had just done a piece on us, and we were saying, God, we have gotten calls from all these places around the country and around the globe. They're not even all on this map. And so I was saying, here's where we are today, New Mexico, and here's where I believe we could be tomorrow. Like if only 10 or 15 things go the way I'm thinking. And so I wanted to share this map with you because this is our second map now. I wish we had the exact same map, but I didn't have time to take off a few of those pins. These are places where in the last year we have coached people, people paid for coaching on our for-profit side. And this may not look like much to you. It's a huge deal for us. And I'm really, really proud of the fact that through no advertising, because we really honestly haven't been able to afford advertising, but through press and great word of mouth, we continue to get hit up from places all over New Mexico as well as all over the country. It's been really nice. So one thing I always like to say towards the end of any talk that I give, this is really important to me that people understand when it comes to Teeniors. After doing this hardcore for the last 5.5 years, one thing we now know for certain, which I've always felt, is that the main service we provide is not tech support. It is human connection. And the level to which we recognize that and stay true to that is the level to which I believe we will continue to succeed. So I love this comment. It's just one of many that I've seen that it made an impression on me. I'm overwhelmed with joy, learned so much today. I actually feel that there's hope for me. Looking forward to future classes. If you don't already know this, or if you haven't heard me speak before, you know that I could give dozens of stories of older adults who are in tears and younger people based on a 1 hour, one-time coaching session that they got with one of our coaches. And that's because they are not used to people who will help them without condescending to them. They're not used to people who will be real with them and speak at their level rather than be like, oh, your data plan only has 1 gigabyte, not use that kind of jargon and just talk to them like someone who, this is a foreign device for them. The man that you see in this picture here, he had a traumatic brain injury, said he couldn't get help anywhere. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to, because of course I was going to help, but I didn't know if I should put one of my Teeniors in the position of helping if I didn't know what, if he might, I have no idea what it means to have a traumatic brain injury. But I knew that he was really upset on the phone. So the guy you see in the picture there is one of my brothers. I can consider him a Teenior pro. He's extremely tech savvy with home entertainment stuff. He works at T-Mobile, and he helped him. And this guy was just overwhelmed with gratitude. And so I used 2 of my brothers as Teenior pros to do home entertainment stuff. That's Manny in the picture. Okay, so before we close out, I'd like to give a few of my little tips for helping older adults in your life. Number 1, find my phone. I always say, you let them hold the device. So if I'm teaching Joe over here, I'm not going to be like, see, and then Joe, and then you just hit, your little, and then just hit the app. First of all, I wouldn't say app. I wouldn't assume that he knows what app means. I would be like, see all these little icons? These are apps. Basically, it's like touching a website. They just take you to a website. And so always let them hold the device because they will get it better if they're the ones pushing the buttons. So number 2, let them be the ones who push the buttons. You point and direct. Your job is always just point and direct as they hold the device. And then 4, did you know, like in some cases, they don't know all that there is to learn. It's really hard to explain, but for someone like me, I'm going to say quantum physics because I literally don't even know what those 2 words mean exactly. And so if someone were trying to teach me quantum physics, I'm going to come up with words that probably aren't even in quantum physics. If they were like, well, let me tell you about the elements, I'd be like, what's an element? What are you talking about? What do you mean? What's quantum mean? Like, I wouldn't know at all what they're talking about. And so if I had a tutor, I would want someone I'm comfortable with enough to be that vulnerable with, to where I'm like, I literally don't know those basic terms. And that's where I think we come in well, because we really try to kill, like I said, any shame about not knowing anything. And one of the ways you can do that, my experience with older adults is they don't feel like, oh my God, of course I know how to do that. Like if you say, did you know that you can use your phone for a flashlight, Mom? I don't know if you know that, but if you quickly just swipe up, let's practice. You try swiping, because they can't always swipe up. They have to still get used to that touching of the button. Did you know that it has a voice recorder? So like if you happen to be in an appointment with your doctor and you don't know that you're going to hear everything, go ahead and record it so you can show it to me later. Let me show you how to record. In fact, I'm going to move your voice recording app to where it's right here on the swipe up screen, so you don't even have to think about it. Did you know you have a calculator on there? Did you know you have an alarm clock? When my phone's low on battery and I know I'm not going to be getting to a charger anytime soon, I put, that little app that you use to use less battery. Did you know there's a search bar if you can't find that particular app? Whatever it is, you can change the text size on your phone so that it's easier for you to read. There's so many little things, as you all know, that you can do that once in a while I'll tell people. It's kind of like your brain. If memory serves, we use 2 to 4% of our brain. I imagine most of us are using 2 to 4% of what our computers and smartphones are capable of. So I always tell them, don't feel bad about knowing stuff. What you'll see in this picture here on the screen is Dodge, perfect example of, he's letting my mom in that picture hold the device. She didn't know how to use the camera on her phone. She was like, what? And I can take a picture myself? Why is it doing this? And then he showed her how you can reverse the lens. And so this is a perfect example. If he would have done this for her, it just would not have had the same effect. She wouldn't have learned as quickly. She wouldn't have felt as comfortable. And what I always tell people at the end is, whether this is an Android or an iOS device, you can always get home. Like the bottom circular button or maybe square button rounded on an Android can always take you home. You can never get lost. You can always get home. And that's Teeniors. I'll stop my screen share now. Thank you for letting me take that time. I haven't given a presentation in a while, so may have gone over a little bit. That's my contact information, trish@teeniors.com. You can visit our website, teeniors.com, and my lovely assistant, Jillian, is also on this Zoom call. So I will open it up if anyone has any questions.
Sure. Thank you very much, Trish. That was inspiring, as it often is. So Sonia wants to lead off with questions. So go ahead, Sonia.
Yay. Okay, cool. So my question is, well, it's a double hitter here. Are your Teeniors employees or contractors? And when you first started, how did you manage the hiring? Like, did you have help in figuring out the hiring process?
Great question. Okay, I'll answer the first one first. So employees or contractors, all of them are contractors. And that's partly because when I started, I was like, I'm not even paying myself, much less can I pay somebody else like that. But what I was paying them, but I was just paying them out of pocket, like $10 an hour. And then when I went through a business accelerator, I went through ABQID, I learned the difference. I didn't even know what contractors were before. I was just always thinking I would pay them out of pocket until I knew what I was doing. And then I learned what contractors were, that you don't really train contractors. They're supposed to come in the situation already knowing what they're doing. And it's almost like they're their own little mini company, that one person is. And I understood it better once I thought about it, because I had done work as a consultant before as a contractor. And I was like, oh, okay, it would make sense to have all these people be contractors, because I can't possibly train them anyway in everything they're gonna have to learn. They're gonna have to come to the table already feeling comfortable teaching on an iPhone or whatever it is, teaching Twitter, whatever it is. And then I found out that what I was suggesting, I checked with a lawyer, was like, he was like, yeah, you definitely have a situation where you should be hiring as contractors. So for the kids that were under 18, I would have their parents sign. And it works out perfectly, because if any of you have ever done tutoring before, it's very intense work. You would never be able to do that 25 to 40 hours a week. Like, it's just extremely intense work. So anyway, everyone's a contractor. And then your other question, Sonia, how did we go about hiring? Is that what you said?
Well, and were there any resources in Albuquerque that you used to help you do that hiring process?
No, but I feel lucky that way, because it's almost like, who can't relate on some level to the work that we do, the way I see it? Because teenagers need jobs, older people need help learning technology. And so what I did was, there was a teenager who was wonderful and was helping me that first summer with the idea that became Teeniors. And so I had paid her, let's see what happened. The very first event we did, I had some teenagers I knew, she had some teenagers she knew, and I think I paid them $10 a piece, or we all just volunteered to go to a senior center and help people with their smartphones for 2 hours. And then after she left, at the end of that summer, as Teeniors started to become a thing, I remember putting a post, like just doing a graphic and putting it on my Facebook page and saying, if you guys know any teenagers that would want to help people learn their smartphones or computers, I'll happily pay them $10 an hour. They'll never have to work more than like 2 hours in a row on the same day, etc. And that got shared so many times, and we got like 150 applicants over the next 6 months. And so that's what I tend to do when we need people. I will say right now, I need to give this unfortunate shout out to the colleges and high schools here. I'm really disappointed that this is the first time, like literally this month, is the first time that we've put the word out that we're hiring, and are struggling like crazy to have the computer science classes of our local colleges and high schools. Not only are they not sharing this information with their students, they're not even responding to us. Like, I don't know how many schools Jillian, my assistant, has written to at this point. We've got a graphic for them and everything. And it's just, they never respond to us, ever. I've written them personally to say, did you get this? They never respond. I have no idea what that's about. But if you guys know those computer science folks, let me know, because I don't know why we can't hear back from them. But yes, that would be the hiring process on our end. Has been a lot of like, here's trying to get the word out. In the beginning, I remember calling the computer science teachers myself and saying, can I speak at your class? Just a 5-minute pitch for we're hiring. So in my mind, that would be the first thing I would do. If it was like, if I was in the arts or the crafts or the whatever sectors, I would be going to the people who lead those kinds of groups and trying to give a quick 5-minute pitch to hire locals.
Thank you. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you. Angelica, you're next.
Hi, I just want to say thank you for doing this presentation. I appreciate that it's called Teeniors also, because I have a 12-year-old son who has taught me how to use my devices, including the computer that I'm currently on right now. So thank you. My question is, how young do you hire? So my son is 14, and he helps the seniors in the Valencia County area, and he doesn't get paid for it or anything. It's like a family thing. The cousins and aunties, they all ask for help, and so I let him help them. But for him to get paid would be totally exciting for him. So how do you think I should go about letting him do this?
Angelica, I'm so excited that you're on this call. First of all, thank you so much for those kind words. And I'm so excited. I'm originally from Valencia County. I was born and raised in Belen. And so
okay, right on.
I know. I'm so excited though, because first of all, 14, because I found out you could get a worker's permit at 14, which I did too when I started working. And so your son can work with us. He just has to get a worker's permit. I don't know how you go about that. I think he can do it through his school. And so have him ask.
I homeschool him.
You homeschool him? Don't worry. There's a way we can do it.
Before COVID, we did
I'm almost certain it's Department of Workforce Solutions that is the agency behind this. But please take my email address down so you can email me about this right after this call. So don't forget. I'd love to have a coach in Valencia County. I would love to have him work with us. And yes, I love everything about this. Yes. What he'll do, the very first thing he should do, go to teeniors.com. I like it. I like when the kids who interview with me tell me, oh, I watched that video. Oh, I watched that interview you guys did. Those are on the homepage. I like when people tell me that because it means they're really doing their research to see what kind of work is this? What would I be getting into? And then we have FAQs on the Become a Teenior page. Would love him to read through that. And then when what he'll do from that page is email my assistant, Jillian, who's on the call now, and she'll send him an application. We used to have the applications right there online, but now I think we're almost like not testing people's seriousness, but just trying to really get those who are engaged instead of setting up interviews that don't end up going somewhere. But this is great. I would love to speak with your son.
Okay, he also has friends that are very tech savvy.
Perfect. And to answer your question, 14 is the minimum age because of the workers permit thing, as long as their parents are willing to sign off on those people helping. Depending on their age, we might need like the youngest I ever hired was 12 because the person was so insistent. She was like blowing up my phone. I was like, I'm sorry, that's too young. I'm not gonna take liability for a 12-year-old. And it was just like, please. I finally said, okay, miss, if you're willing to come with him to every single group event and like be there while he's coaching, then I'll be okay with it. She's like, okay, we'll do. And so I ended up hiring a 12-year-old once. I wouldn't normally say that though, because this is an incredibly mature 12-year-old. Most 12-year-olds cannot even fathom of not knowing what this is. It's too hard for them to really think of it as a foreign device. That kid is still with us. Rowan is 14 now, I think 14 or 15. But I've actually been wanting to start a thing, which I don't want to publicize it. I don't want to, nobody's going to take the idea. I've been wanting to start this thing called Teeniors, which is 11-year-olds, maybe 10-year-olds and up doing things like 4 kids at a time. And it doesn't have to be technology. It can be like helping somebody clean up their yard, helping something, just I have an idea that I don't have time to implement yet, but I want to make that happen at some point too. So anyway, thank you, Angelica. That's a long question.
I also wanted to say I was a mentor at UNM Valencia campus for 2.5 years until I moved to main campus last semester.
Yeah.
So I understand about the tutoring. I tutored a lot of teenagers who are still there, and they tutor. They're mentors also, and they're tech savvy. So if you wanted to reach out to them for what you need, I would definitely do that because they're great kids. They're like between 16 and 19. I tutored them for a couple semesters. They're really great kids, and now they work there.
Yes, Angelica, I love that. Please get in touch. So you saw my email, right? Trish@teeniors.com?
I did.
Okay, yay. I'm so glad we connected. Good old 1 Million Cups. Thank you, Angelica.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Angelica. This is why we have 1 Million Cups. Okay, Paula, you're next.
Yeah, thank you. Trish, great presentation. I, of course, love what you're doing. And my question is, well, one is, Dean Montoya from the Anderson Business School yesterday. She asked me, do you know Teeniors? And I think it'd be great if we could get some college students to work there. So I'm going to do an email introducing you, and I got Jillian's address. She would absolutely support this. Second, I want to ask you, how do you interview to make sure that people have the skills to be patient and the customer service? Because that's your secret sauce, right? So.
Yes, absolutely. Paula, thank you so much. I love it. I would love it for you to connect us. And thank you for asking that question. I'll tell you, I think any of you guys who have run businesses before and have had to interview people know this. It is just so hard to interview because you may think someone's like, oh my God, this person's gonna be amazing. I can't wait. And then lo and behold, they're gone a week or two later. Or someone who's like, gosh, this person can't even make eye contact, but I mean, I guess I'll give them a chance, end up being like one of your best employees or best contractors in this case. So great question about how to interview. I think when you go to the Teeniors page that you have to go to in order to get an application, I think people probably get the idea that like, this is not about proving how tech savvy you are and you created this software program. This is about proving how kind you are and patient and can you carry on a conversation? And then I'll say these kinds of things in the interview. Are you comfortable explaining the same thing 7 or 8 times? Like I want people who are like, hey, like if I'm teaching Paula, listen, I've got nowhere else to be. Let's try this again. And if you forget a step, don't worry, I'm right here. And okay, now you think you've got it. Okay, so Paul, you're going to take your phone. I'm going to stand over there. You try texting me or you try calling me or whatever. So it's almost like that's honestly why it might be hard to scale in a way, because I feel so like it's my assessment of them as a person. And if I'm being honest, I really like every single person that I meet with. What I try to impress upon them is, tell me if you're serious about this. Because if you're doing this for money, I don't blame you one bit, because you're a kid and you need money, and I needed a job too when I was a kid. But this isn't a good job in terms of money, because you're not going to get as many hours as you could at Wendy's or whatever. If you're doing this to build your resume, this is excellent, because it's da, 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 da. If you're doing this for personal reasons, like you think this could be meaningful work, this is excellent. You're going to absolutely love it. So I kind of have this list of questions that I'll go through to try and assess if they're for real. And then I'll say like, and listen, if you want to, you've already proven to be a person who's interested in this kind of work, that already speaks highly of you to me. But if you want this job, or if you don't want this job because of money reasons, or if you want a second job because of money reasons, because some of our Teeniors have gotten a second fast food job, then tell me, because I'll help you get that job. Like it's really important to me to know what my team's goals are. Jillian, who's my assistant on the call, is the person I least get to ask because we're so busy, but I know that she's a writer. I know she aspires to be a published author. I'm really interested in what people's goals are, so that when things come my way, I can connect them. Like New Mexico Tech Council, they'll have volunteer opportunities for their annual tech conference. I always tell the coaches about it. Some have participated, some have gone to the classes themselves. Everyone gets something out of it. So that's I don't know if that answers your question, Paula, but that's the best I can do.
It does. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Clifton, you're next.
Better unmute. There we go. So Tricia, capacity to do this virtually has allowed you to expand significantly. And so that's great. That's sort of like a footstep into the rest of the world. And, when I was younger, I remember reading the E-Myth about how you go into business and you better be careful to set it up as though you're going to franchise, because otherwise you'll never be able to step away from it. And so I'm curious to know how you're a planner. What's your steps for finding the Trish in 50 other states?
I love that you called me a planner, Clifton. That's part of my vision board for 2021. I'm not a planner, actually, but I know what you're saying. I've never read one business book in my life, to be honest with you. It came about from such an organic, desire to help people in the community and people like my mom, that I was just like, what do I do? How do I do this? I never planned on even pitching this idea. I just happened to be at that startup weekend, the first startup weekend for women in 2015, by accident, really. And then I wasn't going to pitch anything. I just heard other people pitching. And I was like, wow, everyone's pitching these like recipe apps and stuff. Don't they realize there's so many people in the world don't know how to use apps? And at least in our society, that I ended up pitching it, could not believe we ended up winning first place by the end of that weekend. It was so amazing. But my background was in the film industry. And so I was just like, how do I do this at all? And I was so excited to win 6 months free office space at Fat Pipe, which kept me here. I've been here now the whole time for 5.5 years. And I was excited to get into this business accelerator, ABQID. Now, I want to be really honest because I'm a very transparent person. There were things about that business accelerator that did not work for me at all. And there were things that did. And a few of the things that did was having a great 30-second pitch and knowing how to do that kind of thing. And how people think in terms of a for-profit model. Scaling was all that they are about in business accelerators, but that's not what I'm about. I am about like, how many people can we help? And then if I think of it in my mind, it's simply just growing. So the fastest way to grow with all that I know now, obviously I know way more than I did 5 years ago, would be to get investment and to build software and to scale. We definitely need software because I could streamline so many things if I could create our own software. I haven't had the money for that yet, but one day we will. And I never have wanted to seek investment. I do not want to be on anyone else's measurement stick of success. And I certainly don't want to be on their timeline in terms of like which would end up dictating my hours that I put in, right? Like, especially as a single mom, I really want to be with all the time I can get with my daughter while she lives with me and up until she gets into adulthood. So to answer your question, and I'm like, E-Myth, interested. Like, I wish I had time to read these books. What I will say is, because I would like to see it grow, you're right that there is like an always internal, I need to be thinking a few steps ahead, just in life. I think that's always good. So what I've got in it's like there's my to-do list has to get done right away. And then there's my long-term to-do list. And my long-term to-do list is like create operator's manual for Teeniors. Because after that, we were featured in the New York Times. People reached out to us. After NPR, especially the morning show, their morning radio program, which is listened to by millions, we got so many phone calls and emails that I couldn't keep up with. People from other states that wanted to be Teeniors, people that wanted a Teeniors in their city and wanted to create it. And people who needed help from Teeniors. And I was so overwhelmed by it because I was like, God, how do I do this? Like, because so many of these people, if you want to create something like Teeniors, don't have money. They're not investors. They're people like me that just are like, I want to see this exist in my community. How do I do that? So I was like immediately looking into, lawyers and into how do I create like just here's the manual I would give someone if I had to, but probably what I'd really do is go out and do a training with them, try to get their community involved and say like, this is what I would see as the way to make this succeed in another city. And so I was planning all that, but to be honest, I was really overwhelmed by it as well. And then COVID hit. And then it was just like, which was nice in a lot of ways because it gave me some breathing room and it gave me more of an opportunity to think about this stuff. So I'm still thinking about it. The difference is when you don't have investors, you get to let it grow as you want. And let me tell you, there have been at least 3 or 4 Teeniors over the last few years that have sent me something. They're like, Trish, look at this startup that just got like their Series B $10 million in San Francisco. They're copying us. They're doing what we do. And I'm like, I know, I've seen that before. Like now I've seen it 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, I don't know what to say about that except I always read about it. It's always some venture capitalist or some investor or already person that knows about money. And it's almost always I don't want to make this like a sociological issue, but it's often a white man, a young man. And it is true that their website is always like similar to ours, very similar, about empowering older adults. And this is how I got the idea and my dad. And that's fine though. The truth is when you're doing work that you really love, you're like, fuck it. I want to see it exist all over the world. And if they can do it in a better way, by all means, like, let's see what they can do. But I also believe so strongly in the organic and the community and the feel of growing things organically for the right reasons that I'm just like, we'll just see what happens. Like I'm okay with them being on their 2-year VC plan and I might be on a 10-year or 15-year plan. My goal is just to see Teeniors succeed.
That's great, Trish. You're really generous. Okay, so one last question. Celestino has his hand up.
Hi, Trish. My question is kind of going back a little bit more about hiring teens. We're hoping to be able to get some teens and hire them. And one of the things that was suggested was gift cards. And from my experience getting my own kiddos gift cards, there's all these activation fees and monthly fees or whatever. Do you have any recommendations for how to compensate teens and not put them into another stress by giving them a paper check? Because that kind of leads on to not having an ID, not being old enough, or their parents not having an account with their name, like just a lot of issues there.
Oh,
Do you have any recommendations?
Thank you, Celestino, for the question. If I'm understanding the question right, are you saying we have an area where we would like to help, where we would like to hire teens, and so therefore the question is about how you pay them? Am I understanding that right? Okay.
Yes.
So good question. I pay our coaches in 5 different ways. This is another thing that I could streamline, but I like giving them this option. Some of them I pay via PayPal. Some of them I pay via Venmo, via Zelle, via Apple Pay, or via mail check. I am amazed by how many younger people I know who are coaches and really tech savvy, don't use social media, don't use any kind of online payment thing, and want a mailed check. And by the way, for those of you who are business owners or nonprofit leaders in the room, I see fantastic results with sending mailed things to people. And it's not just the older people who are used to that snail mail. I mean, I like getting things that are personal in the mail too, but even our young coaches do. I think it's just it's one of those things that we all don't think about. But Celestino, just to be clear, like, I don't know about gift cards. I don't think that would even occur to me to do that. What I know is at first I would say, do you want me to send, like with Rowan, the younger one who's like 14, do you want me to send this check to your mom? And he'd be like, no, go ahead and send it in my name. Because I think you can create a bank account at a young age. You just have to have your parents sign off on it. And I see people nodding on the call. So obviously some people know about this more than I do. I know we set up my under 18-year-old niece with a bank account, and just like her dad signed on the account. And it's a really cool thing, I must say. Like, as a woman who grew up, I can't say that we were poor because my mom would like get mad, I think, but we didn't have a lot of money, and there was 5 of us kids, and my dad died when I was young, and we grew up in Belen, and my mom was cashier at Walmart. We did not learn the first thing about money except for how to like not have any. And I wish there would have been some kind of financial literacy from any adult in my world, which there never was. And so even that basic, let me call around to the banks and see how, or even look on their websites and see how old you have to be to create an account. Maybe you have to only be 12 for all I know. I would really, Celestino, recommend that you do try to create a bank account for them. That is what all of my Teeniors have done at this point. And even Emily, I want to say I have one kid who didn't create a bank account, but still through Zelle, which is a payment app, I was able to pay her. So I would look into those 2 things. How old do you have to be for a bank account? Zelle.
So
thank you.
Thanks so much, Trish, for being so generous and open. And now we come to the really important question, red or green?
It depends on the chili. Some greens are better than some reds. And anyway, but I usually default to red.
Okay. And what can this community do for you?
Oh, it's always a struggle to answer that question when we do 1MC. First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on this call today. You can email me with any questions if you'd like, or just to chat sometime. So really I'm like, on this occasion, that's what you could do for us is for people like myself, Katie, Juliana, there's so many people, Paula on this call, and Miriam, who are doing their own, running their own thing. And I'll say business, meaning nonprofit or for-profit, because to me, it doesn't matter. Whatever we're trying to do that betters things in other people's lives. Support all of us by even simple things. If you see a social media post, just share it or like it. That contributes to the algorithm that will help it get shared more. Obviously, Teeniors has a matching grant opportunity right now that I haven't put on social media yet, but I have put in our monthly newsletter. It goes out over email from our website. $10,000 foundation grant we'll get this summer if we can get that $10,000 matched before the deadline this summer. And so that even like some of our clients have sent $10 in the mail, which is really cool. Some sent 300. So that's something I'd like to put on social media and would love your shares. But just in general, like I love that some of you have said, like, you know, like Paula, she's like, yeah, I do know who this is. Or if you know someone who needs help, you can say, oh, did you know there's this Teeniors thing? But I think in general, I would say the ask is please help in general local small businesses in New Mexico, like help the socially conscious ones. I am not about scaling to a level where we are exploiting some other population outside of the United States. That is my big problem with the startup community and corporations in general. So please support local, you know, and those that are just genuinely trying to help others with their organizations. Thank you for letting me speak on and on.
All right, everyone, let's give her a big virtual hand. All right, and I'm going to hand it off to Eric for blasting through some events.
Well, so I threw the events in the chat. You know, it's always a pleasure. It's always, you know, fantastic to have Trish. It's just an inspiration, I think, to all of us. It's a weird little mini announcement, but we had a startup weekend for sustainability this past weekend, and Annie Irizarry, who many of us know from 1 Million Cups, was part of the winning team. It's a community geothermal thing that is going to be part of Techstars thing on May 12th. So just a little lifting up some local entrepreneurs and getting a little bit of attention for New Mexico. So thanks. Good to see you.
We don't have much time left. You guys don't want to do breakout rooms?
Yeah, let's do a few breakout rooms.